witnesses for being with us today. The month of May marks Jewish Heritage Month. It's when we celebrate the generations of Jewish Americans who've made incredible contributions to this country. This month, we reaffirm our commitment to combat the rise of anti-Semitism, both on and off college campuses. No one should be discriminated against because of who they are or how they worship. And all students have the right to learn in a safe environment free from discrimination in compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Unfortunately, instead of properly enforcing Title VI, this committee is holding the 8th hearing describing the problem and complaining about anti-Semitism on college campuses instead of taking any meaningful action to actually solve the problem. Curiously, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not had any hearings addressing other forms of discrimination and hate, such as racism, Title IX gender violations, Islamophobia, homophobia, or the challenges of meeting the needs of students with disabilities. And this is particularly concerning since we know from reports from the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights that on January 11th of last year, there were 12,000 open cases alleging discrimination and violation of Title VI. 12,000. And of those 12,000 cases, only 144 could be Title VI violations involving anti-Semitism. And we know the solution of this problem is better enforcement of Title VI. So instead of holding another hearing talking about the problem, which complains about the problem, we ought to be holding a hearing on what is going on in the Office of Civil Rights, OCR, the Department of Education. This administration is in the process of dismantling the Office of Civil Rights, and it raises reasonable doubt about the plans for addressing anti-Semitism on campus, as well as racism, homophobia, sexism, Islamophobia, or the needs of students with disabilities. Again, we should be focused on trying to solve the problem rather than just complaining about it. For centuries, college campuses have served as centers for debate and discussion on polarizing issues in our country. Unfortunately, this also means that they can become flashpoints for controversy. But it is fundamental for us to understand that we must protect student safety while also fostering college campuses as a place of learning where difficult topics can be discussed civilly without fear of retribution. OCR has typically and historically played a vital role in preserving that balance. When a suspected incidence of discrimination occurs on college campuses, OCR can investigate the claim. And when I say investigate, you've produced a letter from Jewish students on campus. The administration has letters from Jewish students on campus. Nice to have an investigation to find out what the facts are. But the OCR can investigate the claim, and there's an established process. Should an institution be found to violate its duty to provide a safe learning environment, OCR's process to work with the school will allow it to address the harm. Specifically, the institution is expected to take appropriate action to, quote, end the harassment, eliminate the hostile environment, prevent its reoccurrence, and address its effect as appropriate. And if this does not happen, the Department of Education can begin to withhold funds from the part of the institution which is in violation. However, in its first 3 months, the Trump administration has closed out 7 of 12 OCR regional offices, all of which conduct investigations into discrimination, and all of which conduct investigations into discrimination on campus, whether based on anti-Semitism or race, national origin, gender, or disability. According to public reports, nearly half of the OCR staff has been laid off, and so one is left to wonder, how can OCR carry out its important responsibilities with half the staff? My concerns have been confirmed by other reporting of students struggling to get assistance with ongoing cases because their attorney has been laid off. Moreover, instead of conducting investigations according with the law, the Trump administration has taken a sledgehammer to due process rights of institutions. The public has seen a barrage of reports of this administration taking action without any investigation, such as taking away federal funding, students and professors having their international visas revoked, students who have been disappeared into detention centers, and threats to revoke tax-exempt status of multiple universities. Schools are also told to accept a list of the administration's demand, all without OCR first conducting a fact-finding investigation. In short, that is not due process. For some of us, this doesn't come as a surprise. After all, just this past weekend, the president appeared on NBC News and was asked whether he believes that he should uphold the Constitution, and he responded, "I don't know." Of course, one cannot forget that this is also the same president who thought there were, quote, "very fine people on both sides," after white supremacists marched through Charlottesville in 2017 chanting, "Jews will not replace us." And what everyone, including people you may disagree with, everyone is entitled to due process, and all students should be able to seek recourse if they've been discriminated against. Similarly, institutions should be given a chance to address the harms on their campus without fear of political retribution. And perhaps we should be proactive and utilize agencies in federal government like the Community Relations Services at the Department of Justice, which can serve as a peacemaker when there are problems in communities. Of course, regrettably, the Community Relations Service is on the chopping block right now at the Department of Justice. So we hope we can have a productive conversation today, that the centers of students and the in higher education, but hopefully one day we will begin having a hearing on solutions rather than continuing to complain about the problem. Now, before I yield back, when I said 12,000, that's the case. That's the cases, total cases in the backlog, not the total number of cases. But the point, obviously, is that the number of anti-Semitism cases of all of the cases is a very small number, and if we're going to investigate Title VI violations, we ought to be investigating all of them, and we ought to be looking at what is going on at OCR, because that will be ultimately the solution to the problem. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.